All right, so I'm no content creator, but I'll try to explain what's going on here. I've got the motor mount, the transmission mount, and I've been calling it in my brain the dog bone mount, but this is the third mount that goes towards the back of the motor. This is a kit that I ordered from Rock Auto after trying to find a better way to do it, or a more aftermarket way to do it, but nobody was really offering a kit that I can find. So it came with all three pieces for something like 150 bucks. 3 or 4 different brands offer it. It's Chinesium, so I may be causing my own problem by getting non-BMW parts, but we'll see how it goes. Let's see here. So what's going on, from what I can tell, is our motor mounts are ripping here, and it's easy to see why, as to how easily this flexes and moves. So I got the idea through looking at what some other people had done on different vehicles, and then including probably some minis, to fill this in with urethane, liquid urethane. So I ordered the kit of the motor mounts, and I noticed that there's just this bumper here. I was like, well, we don't really need that, so I pounded that out, and I'm going to pour urethane in here and fill up the gaps with urethane. We're going to have to cover the surface with tape. I'm going to use aluminum HVAC tape because I feel it seals up really well. I'm going to cover it in 2 layers facing both ways. We'll flip it over, tape the bottom up both ways, trying to prevent leaks. Tape this over. The instructions for the urethane state to put it in sandbox. I don't know if I will or not, but we'll see when the time comes. I'll let you know after it's done. And the idea is to fill in this area with the urethane. I can tell you from pouring the water in to measure the volume, it does take a little bit of time. There's some bubbling action that occurs as this area fills in. So I'm hoping that the urethane sets slow enough that I can get this area back here filled in properly. We'll see. Hopefully I don't ruin these motor mounts just trying to do that. But here's a good show of how much this flexes. And for those of us that are running near or over 300 horse, I'm going to destroy this thing just using it day to day, like I've already have my stock one. So hopefully filling in all this gap completely with a 90 AHP urethane will make it much stronger, and hopefully my Chinesium, my aluminum around here, doesn't break. So looking at this one here, I'm probably going to wind up drilling out. You can see this is very flexy. I'm probably going to wind up drilling out a good portion of this, possibly aiming to only leave these bits here stock and filling in the rest with urethane. This here is very rigid, so I likely will not mess with removing any of that rubber. The transmission mount is pretty solid. I haven't heard that these breaking as much, so I likely will not modify it much. I will cover this up, and I will pour my urethane into these orifices, and hopefully that will strengthen this up enough to not become a problem later. So I'm going to stop and work on this. I'll take a video before I actually do the pour, and I'll do a video after, and hopefully when they're all cut together, it'll make sense. Okay, here we go with the second bit. I have cut out the bits of rubber on this mount, front and back. I found that it worked quite easy, as this is very soft. I just put a screwdriver in, pried it out, and then used a utility knife to cut out the rubber. Very easy. Then I took the 3 mounts and I took them into the kitchen sink, and I got the water good and warm and used some degreaser and gave them a good scrubbing. I used Mean Green. Really, any degreaser would probably do the trick for you. And I'm going to next, well, I've ordered 2 of these kits because of the volume I need, because of the volume that motor mount needs. So I wound up getting 2. But this is the Forged Polymer Corp 80 AHP liquid urethane. I got these both from suspension.com. They came very quickly, and I'm pretty happy. The kit comes with 1 jug, part B, and a cute little stick, which I won't use because I'll use a bigger one for mixing. I did opt to order the urethane to rubber primer and the urethane to metal adhesive, because I want to make sure that my bond between here, the polymer, and that is very good, or as good as I can get. I also went and picked up a couple 1-quart mixing cups and the sticks that I'm actually going to use. I'm standing right over top of my outdoor vent. I know that works very well. I've stood here and lit a little smoke fire here before to test it, and you actually do see the smoke rising and going straight out there. So I'm pretty confident that that's going to be a good ventilation for this. I will be wearing rubber gloves, which I have stuck somewhere else here in the shop. I will pull them out and wear them because I don't want to get any of this crap on me. I've taped down some paper in case there's some spillage. And I will make another video when I make some progress. Okay, so I cracked this open and smeared it on the metal bits. And I cracked this open and smeared it on the rubber bits. I took my aluminum tape and I did many layers of tape trying to prevent any seams that might leak. And I spent a lot of time, this is the top layer, so it's the nastiest looking, but I spent a lot of time making sure to press down the aluminum to every flat surface I could and to work out any seams. And again, trust me, this top layer is the worst looking one. On the motor mount, I did the same. You can see it looks a little bit better. Spent more time on it. There's bigger holes. Every seam that there's a couple, 3 layers of tape over it. So hopefully I have enough of a connection between the seams that it's not going to leak through. On the motor mount, I opted to pour in from this side to get the maximum coverage that I felt I could get from the other side. And it'd be easier to tape this side rather than trying to tape this side. Tape to the bottom, and there's a couple little holes. The transmission mount, same deal. I'm going to try to pour it in from the top because that's the hardest side to get to as far as taping. And I taped up the other bits the best I could. The videos the others have done, and the instructional video says to get a box of sand. I don't have sand, but I do have kitty litter. Either way, it's a good idea to put it in a container, and the sand will help me level this. I don't really feel like it needs to be perfectly level, but I'll get it close. But certainly the sand and being in the container, any spillage that happens, it's not a big deal. It's just going to make a mess in there. So next I'm going to mix up the components, and I'll start with the motor mount because it's the largest, and then I'll do the other 2 with the second can. If my math is at all right, I'm going to use almost this entire can just for the motor mount. It should be said that I had my ventilation running, and it didn't stay nasty in here, but man alive, this stuff stinks to high heaven. So I am going to go ahead and wear my good carbon filter mask when I'm working with the actual polymer. So hopefully I don't get a contact buzz off of this. I will make another video after I have done the pour. Okay, so I did the first pour. The mixing went really easy, really well. It came out of a thickness kind of like a cold maple syrup, not quite water, but certainly was pouring easily. So I tried to fill up the main cavity the best I could. It filled up faster than I thought it would. I am getting some leaking action there, which tells me that this part of the mold is filling up. However, I think it's going to set before that finishes. I took the remainder of what I had and came over here and poured and filled this, and got a little messy. That's all right. That'll scrape out. I don't care. And took a little bit and started to fill this up. I think what I'm going to do is let this set for a couple hours, or I'll read the manual again and see how long it takes to set before I can mess with it. But point being, I'll let it set, and then I will flip this over so I can get to that face, and possibly I'll flip it over to see the bottom too. I may retape, but either way, I have a whole nother can of this, so I'm going to make sure that I can fill these up as much as I can. I do not believe I'll be able to do any better filling on this with that, by removing other tape and coming at a different angle. So that's it. I can tell you that I wore a mask, a good 3M with carbon cartridge mask, and I did not smell a thing. After I took the mask off, I really don't smell any residual fumes in here. I do still have that running full bore though, just to be sure. I'm pretty happy so far with what's going on here, so I'll check the drying times, the setting times, and then I'll do another clip after I make another step. Okay, here's the last video. So I gave it, without checking timestamps, what felt like probably a half hour, 45 minutes to set. I started just kind of checking how it was set up. It feels slightly rubbery, just a little bit sticky, not quite leaving a fingerprint. So I felt that was close enough to go ahead and peel off the tape. I started with this one. I flipped it over. Here's the surface that I poured to. Here's the bottom surface. It turned out very well, I thought. This is dry. It's tacky, but it's dry. Or I should say set. I don't think the stuff dries. I think it sets. Anyway, this here, this cavity, this void, is where I did a poor job of getting the tape in there well. And that's actually where there was a piece of tape down into the opening. If I were to do this again, I would pay more attention, probably start where I tape differently. And I think a piece of it just curled in there. Not a big deal. This piece is very much filled. Knowing that I started from the top, it went all the way through. Very happy with that. I'll go with this one. The transmission mount, I didn't have as much of the liquid left over. You can see that it didn't fill all the way. However, when I flip it over, let's flip it right here, it did completely fill this void, which that's not a moving, functioning void. So maybe if I were to do it again, trying to hit with just one can, I might do some taping down in there or plug it somehow to keep it from filling up that void. But I haven't read that people have been having issues with their transmission mount. I was just wanting to add to this for the hell of it since I was working on it. This mount here, the engine mount, the reason why we're doing this, I'm pretty happy with it. Again, I poured from the top. There's a spot there in the corner where it was bubbling, which was releasing air from where it was filling in the bottom. When I turned it over, the main void is completely full. I am very happy with the amount of saturation that has occurred here. Once this fills up all the way, I believe this will make a very strong mount. The only way I would know to make it stronger from here is to go with the 90A, the race level poly, or manufacture myself a solid aluminum mount. I do daily drive this car, so I didn't want to make it completely obnoxious for everyone that rides with me. But at this point, having not installed it yet, I feel I accomplished what I wanted. I only used 1 can. So yes, 1 can of this poly, depending on how aggressive you get removing material for your other mounts, will cover the whole project. I probably could have just listened to them, but I like being overly cautious. I have that poly for, honestly, what I'm going to wind up doing is when I replace these mounts, I'm going to clean up and gut the replacement or the original stock mounts, and I'm going to have myself a second set of mounts ready to swap out when the time comes, because, well, we all know when we're running our JCWs, we're having fun. And when you have fun, shit's going to break, and apparently this is what breaks. So this is going to be it for the video. Hopefully it helps you guys at all. It's how I did it. Hopefully it works. Hopefully I just didn't waste 150, 80 bucks plus another 60 bucks worth of materials and supplies. So we'll see.